In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about what rich people do with property, specifically how rich people think about property, and more importantly, what you can do to level up if you are not currently rich. So let's go. Good day, Samuel Can Win here, and in this video I'm going to share with you exactly what rich people do with property. I'm going to start by sharing with you how rich people think about property, then specifically what rich people do with property, and last but not least, what you can do to level up in order for you to become one of the rich as it pertains to property. Now, you might be sitting there thinking to yourself, Samuel, why are you doing this video? And the reason I'm doing this video is because when I was 11 years old, I watched my mom come home one day and share with me that she had been made redundant. Now, my mom didn't have the most opulent job. She had a traditional job. She worked in central London in a bank. But one day, after 15 years of service, someone wrote her name on the list and she was told, it's over. So as a result, I, as an 11-year-old, couldn't help my mom. I didn't have a job at the time. I couldn't go and get a job at the time. So literally, as I watched my mom struggle through financial woes, there was literally nothing I could do. Now, on the other hand, which was quite interesting, is my dad actually had his own business. So growing up, I used to see my dad go to work, go to his shop and do his business. But my dad wasn't one of those flamboyant, flashy people. So as a result, I never believed, I never knew, I never discovered that my dad actually had any wealth. So as an 11 and 12-year-old, I looked at my mom and I said, hold on a minute, a normal job doesn't work. I looked at my dad and said, hold on a minute, running your own business doesn't work. And I concluded at the age of 11 and 12 that I should go into a life of crime. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you is because you may be a parent of a young child like I am today and literally be thinking to yourself, how can I make sure my child doesn't choose a wrong path like Samuel Can Win did as a child? And I'm going to share with you a real key secret before I go into today. And I want to share with you that one of the best ways to keep your child off the streets, one of the best ways to keep your child on the straight and narrow path is to literally be a better example. Show your children exactly how you're winning. Show them exactly where you're winning. Now, this is extremely hard for many people, especially if they're not rich. And that's the reason I decided to put this video together, because I know some people are saying to themselves, but Samuel, I don't have shed loads of money. What do I do? Well, this is what you do. You learn from the content I'm going to be sharing in this video and you use it to move yourself further faster in your property investment journey. So with that being said, the question you might be asking yourself is, how do I become rich if I'm not rich already? Or how do I become rich if, for example, I wasn't born with, bucket loads of money? Now, here's the thing that's interesting. I got a light bulb turn on for me when I read a verse in the Bible, which is found in Proverbs chapter 22, verse 2. And that verse says, the rich and poor meet together, the Lord is the maker of them all. And it was that verse that woke me up and made me realize, hold on a minute, are you telling me that the difference between rich people and poor people is not that they're made by different people? It's literally the fact that even though they meet together, they're all made by the same God. And that's what woke me up to start helping me realize that the real difference between people that are rich and those that are poor is that as rich people, we think differently about money and wealth and property. And as a result, we act differently around money, around wealth, about wealth, and around and about property. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 core thoughts that actually are in the mind of every rich person and how you can level up in order to have those same thoughts working in your mind to serve you at the highest level as well. Now, you may not know this, but if you go to any first world country, as they call them, and you look at their Times or their Forbes or equivalent rich list, you will find that over 50% of the people on that list either create or keep their wealth inside of real estate or property investments. And this is a big clue to actually how rich people think about property, but also what rich people are really doing with property. What's the psychology of rich people's thought processes as it pertains to property? Now, I'm going to share with you these 3 things because I want you to be equipped with them and know them yourself as well. Now, the first one is that rich people think long-term about property, okay? For a wealthy person, property is not something that we're going to do now and forget tomorrow. It's something that we're going to do with a long-term view. It's something that we're saying to ourselves in 20 years, 30 years, how do we want this to pan out? Now, the thing that's quite interesting is I have met hundreds of people who have bought properties, and in very few cases when I ask them, oh, was it expensive to buy this property when you bought this property 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or whatever have you, they always tell me, yes, Samuel, it was extremely expensive. I remember a recent conversation speaking with a lady and asking her, how much did you buy that property for? And she said £30,000, which was kind of laughable. And then I said to her, how long ago did you buy the property? She said 15 years ago. And then I lastly said to her, well, how was it to buy that property 15 years ago for £30,000? And she said it was extremely tough. It was a struggle because of how expensive it was at the time. Now, I know some of us are going to hear this and literally be laughing, thinking to ourselves, if I could find a property for £30,000 today, I would buy it with my eyes closed. But what you may not understand is that £30,000 15 years ago is potentially equivalent, it could be equivalent to £300,000 today. And the reason why is because there are different factors that play in terms of inflation, in terms of the rate of pay increases and all of those things. So I want you to understand that no matter when you decide to invest, you may think it's expensive to invest, but what's more expensive is your future without that investment. I want you to understand that. So I'm going to share that again. What's more expensive than the investment you make today in the right thing, that is the investment that you don't make today in your future. Okay. So that's the first thing. Rich people, we think long-term about property. Now, the second thing, which is very crucial, is we see property as a shelter for our wealth. So let me ask you this question. If you were going out in the torrential rain, if you was going to go into a rainstorm, would you like to go into the rainstorm with or without an umbrella? Okay, let me even ask you another question. If you were going out into a rainstorm, would you like to be going out into the rain knowing that you were jumping into a car, jumping into a vehicle, or even better yet, having a chauffeur literally open a car door for you, let you get in, and then close the door straight after you so that not one drop of rain literally even gets to hit you? Now, if you're like me, I know your answer to both of those questions. Listen, I want that umbrella side by side with that. I want to be in the vehicle. I want the chauffeur so I don't get wet from the torrential rain. And the reason I ask this question is because I want you to understand that this is exactly how rich people think about property. Property is one of the best shelters for wealth, and it allows rich people to literally not only hold on to large amounts of wealth, but also to pass that wealth on in the right time to the next generation or to whoever they're passing it on to. So I want you to understand that a shelter for wealth is one of the core thought processes for wealthy people as it pertains to property and real estate investing. The third way that rich people think about property, which is going to be crucial to you, is that they have a buy and hold mentality. Now, the reason why the buy and hold mentality is crucial is because many people, especially when they see interest rates increase or when they see other fluctuations in the market, they sell. They just say to themselves, I'm out of here, it doesn't make sense anymore, rather than realizing that if you buy well, you will never need to sell. I'm going to say that again. If you buy well, you will never need to sell. And the reason you'll never need to sell is because if you buy, according to what I said as the first principle, with a long-term view, you're buying this asset not for you of today, but the you of tomorrow. And the you of tomorrow is not going to appreciate if you sell off its inheritance, his inheritance, her inheritance. They want the asset, they want that inheritance. So I'm going to encourage you to start thinking about how you can buy and hold. Now, the interesting thing about the whole buy and hold strategy is there are multiple ways that you can do that. There are literally multiple tactics that you could use to buy and hold property. But please don't be someone who believes the myth that you can't go wrong with property, because a lot of people say that and it's not accurate and it's not true. And if you don't believe me, just go and ask the hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people across the globe in 2008, 2009, who went through the global recession where property prices literally dipped, okay? So you can go wrong with property. However, if you know what you're doing, you can utilize a buy and hold strategy to secure your wealth, shelter your wealth, and also secure you and your family's financial future. So you might be saying to yourself, after all of this being shared, Samuel, you know what? I love this. I literally want to get involved in this. I literally want to use property like rich people. But what do I do if I'm not in that position right now? What do I do if I don't have all of the money, if I don't even know where to begin? And I'm going to encourage you to do something which I did a number of years ago, roughly in around the year 2015, which set me free. Now, the first thing I'm going to encourage you to do is start to value your time more than you value the money. Okay, now this is a hard one because lots of people say to me, Samuel, I value my time more than I value money, and then they still decide to sell loads of their time for very little money. And I'm not saying this to you because I'm pointing the finger, I'm saying this to you because I'm pointing the finger. Okay, I used to do that. I remember in 2015, for a few months, it wasn't for a long period of time, I worked as a supply teacher. And a supply teacher generally goes into schools and is a substitute for permanent teachers who aren't available to work for sickness or holiday or whatever it is. And I remember going into a school that used to pay me roughly £240 a day. And I'm looking around because I want to show you this. This isn't £240, but this is $250, which is a close enough equivalent. So I'd go into a school for a whole day for £240 or $250. And the thing that's interesting about this is you might be sitting there thinking to yourself, oh, but Samuel, that's a good amount of money for a day rate. Well, here's the interesting thing. That's not worth missing my daughter being born. Here's another interesting thing. That was not worth missing my son take his first step. And as a last interesting thing about that, that's not worth missing my son share his first words. And the reality is I didn't know that then, but I know that now. Although I thought I believed my time is more valuable than my money, I was selling lots of my time for very little money. And I want to encourage you that if you're someone who's been doing that, to start to value your time more than you value the money. That would already set you on the right trajectory in order to succeed and start to think like a rich person. Now, here's the 3 things I want you to start to actually focus on if you do want to make that shift, if you do want that transformation from thinking like someone who's getting poor results to thinking like someone who gets rich results. The first thing I want you to start to focus on is focus on your future. I want you to literally take time out, maybe close your eyes before you go to bed tonight and think to yourself, what do you want your future to look like? Because the moment you start to think about what you want your future to look like, you will start to have a kind of a magnet, kind of like an anchor. You would have a fixation destination point for you to know this is what I'm working towards. And straight after you understand what you're looking for in your future, I want you to then start to focus on your fortune, because that future is going to need some resources. That future is going to need some riches. That future is going to need some resources, riches, and also revenue in order to be created. So start to focus on your fortune. Start to think to yourself, how do I build the fortune necessary for that future? Now, let me tell you something. That fortune might not be 100 million, 200 million. It might literally just be £3,000 a month. And with property as a vehicle, that is very easily achievable once you know how. So after you start to focus on your future and after you start to focus on your fortune, I'm going to encourage you to buy something. And the thing you need to buy is the focus on your focus. Buy back your focus. And the way you buy back your focus is learning how to intently focus on the things that are of importance to you. No longer should you be scrolling on social media if the things you're watching on social media are not serving the future you desire and the fortune you require. You need to get to a place and move into a space where you start focusing on the things that are good for you. So at the end of this video, I want you to remember that you, just like the rich people, can start to think long-term about your wealth as it pertains to real estate and property. Start to utilize property as a shelter for your resources for the next generation, and also utilize the buy and hold strategy so you can win and move to a whole new level. So with that being said, go watch this video right now so you can learn how you will not end up like other people in the property game. And last but not least, I want to remind you that it's small keys like these that open great doors. I'll see you on the next one.